She didn't need a sword. She didn't need an army. She ruled with vials, powders, and silence. In a city of marble and ambition, one woman learned to kill without ever lifting a blade. She wasn't a general. She wasn't a queen. She was something far more dangerous. She was Locusta, the first recorded female serial killer in Western history, and Rome's most infamous poisoner. Her victims? Senators, generals, emperors. Her tools? Toxins brewed from shadowy herbs and forbidden roots. And when Rome wanted someone gone, they called her. But how did a woman with nothing become the empire's deadliest weapon? And how did she turn murder into power? Let's go back to where it began, when Locusta was just a ghost in the alleys of Rome. Rome in the 1st century AD was a city of gold and gutters. Beneath the temples and triumphal arches were alleys that reeked of rot, smoke, and blood. Somewhere in those alleys lived a woman no one noticed. She came from Gaul. Some say she was enslaved, others that she fled a cursed village. Her name? Locusta, meaning wild herb. She worked with plants, not as a healer but as a whisperer of death. She learned which roots caused seizures, which berries slowed the heart, and which powders killed with no trace. By the time she was 20, she was already selling poisons to desperate wives, ambitious sons, and vengeful enemies. If you had coin and a name to whisper, Locusta delivered. But her rise truly began the day she got caught. Locusta was arrested under Claudius's reign for suspected poisonings. She was to be executed, until someone intervened. That someone was Agrippina the Younger, the Empress of Rome. Agrippina had one mission: make her son Nero the next emperor. But standing in her way was her husband, Emperor Claudius himself, and Agrippina needed a cleaner solution than steel. She ordered Locusta freed from prison, and gave her a royal job: kill the emperor. Locusta crafted a poison so subtle, Claudius felt only mild stomach pain at first. But the second dose, laced into a feather used to induce vomiting, finished the job. Rome mourned. The Senate wept. But Agrippina smiled. Nero was emperor, and Locusta was now the crown's secret weapon. After Claudius's death, Locusta didn't go into hiding. She was rewarded. Nero gave her land, gold, and a private laboratory, guarded by soldiers. Inside, she grew her own herbs, experimented on animals, and tested poisons on condemned prisoners. She wasn't just an assassin. She became a chemist of death. Locusta created potions that worked in minutes, others that mimicked disease. She even designed slow poisons that caused madness first, then death. Her fame spread. Wealthy Romans paid fortunes for her services. But Locusta worked only for Nero. Loyalty was part of survival. Until Nero made his boldest move yet, he wanted to kill his own stepbrother, Britannicus. Britannicus was Claudius's true heir. Though young, he was intelligent and popular. Nero, feeling insecure and jealous, ordered Locusta to create a poison that would work fast, but without immediate suspicion. She delivered. On the night of a grand feast, Britannicus was given a cup of warm wine. Nero watched. The boy drank. Seconds passed. He began to choke, convulse, and collapse. Guests screamed. Nero claimed it was a childhood illness. But everyone knew. Locusta had struck again, and now, no one in Rome felt safe. Locusta was now a legend. She wore black robes. Her eyes were said to be yellowed by constant brewing. Children whispered her name like a curse. But with power came enemies. The Senate despised her. Roman elites feared her influence over Nero. Rumors spread that she kept a book of names, of every person she had ever poisoned. Worse, some said she had begun training apprentices. She wasn't just killing, she was building a guild of poisoners. And if that was true, Rome wasn't just ruled by emperors anymore. It was ruled by shadows. If this tale sent chills down your spine, then don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with a fellow history lover, and comment your thoughts below. And remember, this is only the beginning. Locusta's most shocking killings are yet to come. She had killed for the empire. Now she killed from within it. While Rome slept beneath columns and wine-stained banquets, she brewed in silence, shaping history drop by drop. Locusta wasn't just a poisoner anymore. She was Nero's secret blade, his black widow. But loyalty has a cost. And in Nero's world, no one was untouchable. This is the second act of Rome's deadliest ghost. A woman who moved emperors like pawns and brought the empire one step closer to ruin. After Britannicus fell, Nero's paranoia grew louder than the Senate. Anyone with a link to the imperial bloodline became a threat. So who did he call? The same hands that killed an emperor and a prince. Locusta. Nero began requesting poisons for people who barely posed a threat. nobles who once sneezed in Claudius's court, governors who didn't clap hard enough at Nero's games. Locusta created new toxins, faster, cleaner, more discreet. But soon, it wasn't just enemies she was targeting. It was family. Nero feared one person above all, his own mother, Agrippina. The woman who gave him the throne was now a threat to it. She scolded him in public, opposed his lovers, and plotted with senators. But she was smart. Steel and poison wouldn't be enough. So Nero staged an accident. He ordered a ship specially designed to collapse and sink with Agrippina aboard. She survived. Enraged, Nero ordered assassins. When they hesitated, he called for Locusta. It's said she refused. Not out of mercy, but logic. Killing Agrippina publicly would make Nero look weak and unstable. She was right. Nero went ahead anyway. Soldiers stabbed Agrippina in her villa. Her last words? Strike the womb that bore him. The Senate praised the traitor's death, but the people murmured. And Locusta? She watched the chaos and learned. By now, Locusta was more than a tool. She was a brand. Nero made her the imperial poison master, gifted her even more land, and gave her apprentices. A real school of poisoning. Girls and boys trained to harvest nightshade, test doses on animals, and simulate symptoms of natural diseases. One pupil allegedly poisoned her husband before graduation. Locusta rewarded her with wine. This academy of death was hidden behind the walls of her estate, but rumors poured through Rome's streets. She's building a secret army. She poisons the water supply. She dreams of killing Nero himself. But the emperor didn't flinch. Because every time he needed someone silenced, she still answered. When Nero grew tired of his wife Octavia, he divorced her. The public rioted, so he accused her of adultery. Still, the people defended her. Then Nero made the fatal choice. He ordered Locusta to finish the job. Octavia was exiled, then murdered. Her head was delivered to Nero's new wife, Poppaea. Rome wept. Statues of Octavia were decorated with flowers. Graffiti called Nero matricide and bride killer. But Locusta remained untouched, like a plague no one dared to confront. And yet cracks were forming. Even Nero's trust had limits. One of Nero's generals, a man named Rubrius Plautus, began to rise in popularity. He was devout, noble, and whispered as a replacement emperor. Nero panicked. Locusta delivered the poison. But this time, it was intercepted. Rubrius's servants noticed the strange scent in his cup. The general survived. He fled east, and Rome buzzed. Had Locusta failed? Was she slipping? Nero began watching her more closely. He planted spies in her academy. Had her loyalty turned? Did she now serve a higher bidder? Whispers turned to fear. The shadow that once protected her was starting to fade. If this second chapter chilled you to the bone, give it power. Like the video, drop a comment with your wildest theory, and share it with someone who loves the dark corners of history. Because this isn't the fall yet, it's the tightening of the noose. She thought she was untouchable. The empire had given her power. Gold, guards, a kingdom built on poison. But in Rome, favor is just a shadow. And when the light changes, the shadow turns on you. Locusta had served emperors, outlived rivals, trained a new generation of assassins. But now, the hand that once fed her was sharpening the knife. This is the moment when the predator becomes prey, and Rome turns on its own monster. Nero's empire was crumbling. The fires of Rome, which many blamed on him, had scorched his popularity. His obsession with theater, music, and cruelty grew unbearable. The Senate plotted. The generals revolted. And Locusta? She watched it all from her estate, surrounded by jars of venom and scrolls of victims. But this time, no poison could save Nero. In 68 AD, abandoned by his allies and declared a public enemy, Nero fled. Before he took his own life, his last words were, "What an artist dies in me." And with that, the empire's mad emperor was gone. But what of his silent blade? Galba took power after Nero, a strict, no-nonsense general who promised to cleanse Rome of corruption. One of his first targets? The poisoners who had served the previous regime. Locusta was dragged from her estate. She was no longer a royal asset. She was a criminal, an embarrassment, a relic of Nero's perversions. The Senate, desperate to restore Rome's dignity, demanded a public display. And so, the woman who had killed emperors was sentenced to death by the state she once served. But Galba didn't just want her gone. He wanted her legacy shattered. Before her execution, Locusta was said to have prepared one final poison. Not to kill, but to test her apprentice's loyalty. She handed the vial to a girl who had trained under her for 6 years. They come for you, she whispered. You know what to do. No one knows what was in that final brew. Some say it was a formula never used before, one that caused death through madness, turning the brain on itself. Others say it was empty, a trick, a lesson in fear. Whatever the truth, Locusta walked to her death with no chains, no screams, only silence. The crowd jeered. Stones were thrown. She was executed publicly. Sources say beaten to death. Others claim she was torn apart by wild animals. Rome made sure it was loud and final. After her death, poisonings didn't stop. Her apprentices disappeared into shadows. Her notes were rumored to have been stolen by senators. A few were said to have ended up in Parthia. Some whispered that a new school of poisoning arose in the East. Silent killers trained in the Locusta method. Centuries later, medieval alchemists would reference the Black Gull, a woman who mastered death and kissed kings with venom. Even Shakespeare, in Hamlet, would reference poison poured into the ear, a likely nod to methods attributed to Locusta. She didn't leave behind children, monuments, or memoirs, but her legacy? It still lingers in the dark corners of power, where whispers kill and shadows serve. Locusta's story is a warning that the deadliest monsters don't always wear crowns. Sometimes they wear aprons. They tend to gardens. They speak in soft voices. They wait. And when history calls them forward, they strike. Not for glory, not for vengeance, but because death is the only language they ever learned to speak fluently. Locusta didn't fall because she poisoned the empire. She fell because she made the empire depend on her. And when Rome wanted to be clean again, she was the bloodstain they couldn't scrub away. If this story chilled your spine and lit a fire in your curiosity, then show some love. Like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share it with someone who loves the dark side of history. And most importantly, subscribe to HistoryMind for more true stories buried under dust, blood, and silence. Because what we forget always returns.